Cartoons ahoy as Tekton TV shows us how biased and absurd they can really be. This ought to be fun. Let's go watch. I think I've looked at some Tekton TV's bad cartoons in the past. I really don't remember, but this one struck me as particularly ridiculous, so I had to take it on. Bad atheist behavior seems to be something that the religious like to point out, even if it isn't real, because atheists are the enemy, and they have to continually push propaganda that says so, even if it's all made up. So here goes a true story, and not only do I not buy it, but I have to wonder why Tekton's theological blinders keep getting in the way of a decent point. Let's watch. Yeah, but you guys think that things in your big book of multiple choice are true too, so maybe taking you at your word isn't such a good idea.
Hello, John.
Hello, Fred. Thanks for coming.
Yes, of course. I'm very sorry for your loss, John. I know you love your grandmother very much.
Yes, we'll all miss her. But we'll see her again one day, and that gives us great comfort.
Now, I know where he's going with this. It's really common among the religious, even though I don't think anyone can prove that it's ever really happened in reality, but the idea that you'll see someone again someday, even if it's comforting, is still false. Now, that doesn't matter if it's a coping mechanism or whatever. The idea that people are incapable of dealing with the facts, therefore they can invent a comforting fantasy to deal with their unhappiness, is really, well, childish. And that's fine if you're a child, but we're talking about seemingly intelligent adults here who can't handle the fact that people die. They can't deal with reality in any intellectual way. And we're supposed to accept this as somehow good and normal. Yeah, I think not.
You know, John, that reminds me. Do you see why Christianity arose?
What do you mean?
Well, you are happy for you believe she's still alive. And that is merely the explanation of a primitive human. But we have so much to teach us about the earth. We don't need ancient beliefs and magic places in the sky where the dead go. We must accept reality. We must accept that the dead rot in a hole in the ground, and we must accept what actually created us. We must accept the advances of science, and we must continue them. Drop your shackles of religion, John, and open to evidence, reason, and science.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. These are just the fevered inventions of the religiously delusional because they're desperate to cast atheists as the enemy, as terrible human beings out to upset their religious apple cart. Now, that's not to say that there aren't jerks out there, because there are. They come in all shapes and sizes, just ask the Phelps clan. But atheists, by and large at least, don't pretend that all Christians act like the Westboro Baptist Church, because we tend to be more honest than that. Too bad Tekton isn't.
Hello, Fred.
Oh, hello, John. Thank you for coming.
Oh, of course. I was very sorry to hear of the loss of your grandfather, Fred. My prayers are with your family.
What did you say?
Something meaningless intended to provide emotional comfort, but which ultimately doesn't convey anything useful or intelligent. Now, certainly, our cartoon theist's heart is in the right place here. He's saying something that he himself would be comforted by in that situation. I will say, however, that maybe our theist here ought to think a little bit and tailor his message to his audience. Because in a lot of these situations I've found, the theist is saying what they're saying for their own comfort, not for the comfort of the people that they're talking to. They are saying it to reinforce their own beliefs, imagining themselves in the situation and what they'd like to think about if it was them that lost a loved one. Now, personally, I'm not going to get upset if somebody who acts, perhaps not intelligently, but has the best intentions. But I'm willing to bet that Tekton, if he was the one at the funeral and some, say, Muslim walks up and said, "Allah be with you," I think he'd probably lose his shit. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I get the distinct impression that he's not particularly tolerant of anyone outside of his religious echo chamber.
I said my prayers are with...
I heard you! Why do Christians have to ruin everything?
I ruined something?
Look, John, my grandfather was an atheist, just like me. He opposed all that religious bullshit, spoke of it as infecting everything. He said it was the source of all evil, and then you come along and say your prayers are with his family. You aren't actually praying. You're just a vulture ravaging his corpse. Leave him to be buried by people who give a f*** like me.
Well...
This absurd overreaction brought to you by the fine folks at Tekton TV. Yeah, not so much. But again, a decent person, and I'm not trying to say that our imaginary Christian here isn't doing the best that he can, but you need to be able to tailor your statements to the situation that you're in. Now, this reminds me of the funeral for my wife's grandfather. He was an atheist who had absolutely no use for religion at all, but his service was held in a chapel at the cemetery, and it's probably one of the last times I've stepped foot in a church, and that was close to 25 years ago. But I don't recall anyone trying to push their religion at any time during the service or afterwards at the reception. I know there were religious people there, but everyone came to remember her grandfather, not to throw around trivial religious catchphrases. Maybe if Christians would try to do that more often, rather than trying to push their own religious agenda, people wouldn't get upset with them.
F*** you, John! I will not let you urinate on his grave with your bullshit! Just accept you did something wrong and forget about it!
I'm sure Tekton thinks this is really what happens, mostly because I kinda doubt he ever interacts with the non-religious outside of the internet. This is what happens when you live entirely within a religious bubble, which, of course, he's got his comments shut off, so it should be no surprise, because the religious are terrified that someone might disagree and make them look bad. It's all kinda ridiculous when you think about it. An actual dialogue, huh? Prove it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't really believe that it did. And of course, the whole blame here is being placed on the atheist, not on the theist who probably should have thought about what they were saying before they just let the stock religious sentiment go at someone who they knew wouldn't be receptive of it. But Christians are never to blame, right? What was that about hypocrisy again? I can sort of see his point if this was a common thing, but the supposed atheist outrage that I see claimed by the religious just isn't real from my own experience or the experiences of anyone that I've ever talked to. I've never had someone say, "Holy crap, this just happened." No, not that it can't happen, not that it's never happened, but it certainly isn't the norm. It certainly isn't common, and if I did see something like this, I'd be the first one to step in and tell the atheist that they were in the wrong for reacting that way. But the Christian was also in the wrong, especially since they knew for a fact that this guy was an atheist. So the whole prayer line was a complete dick move on their part, and there's no defending that. So yes, both sides screwed up in this imaginary example, but the religious will never admit to their own culpability, will they? Nope, it's never them. They're never to blame. They're on the side of the angels, literally. But in their mad rush to make atheists look awful, they entirely miss the fact that they're awful too. Okay, Whatever you say. This just proves that Tekton is really terrible at seeing the truth through his theological blinders. This has been a terrible lesson from Tekton TV. What else is new?
Bum